Thank you for joining me. We are streaming live on X, Facebook, and YouTube. As it is on Wednesdays, I'm talking to the cameras over there. What are we going to be talking about? We are going to be talking about how Massie's defeat is the best thing that ever happened to the FSP, and I expect everyone to get on board for a fantastic pork fest. Consider this your invitation. If you live somewhere else and you've been wondering what is going on in New Hampshire, no, it's our solution. So come check it out. I will catch everyone on the flip side. From the heart of the free state of New Hampshire, this is the Independence with Carla Garrett. And now, here's your host, Carla Garrett. Hey. Hi, guys, and welcome back to The Independence. I am Carla Garrett, and I am your host for the next 30 minutes while we dissect what happened yesterday with Massie. We get over the disappointment. We realize that it is an opportunity for Free Staters here in New Hampshire to really lean into our concentration strategy. I will talk a little bit about solutions, about what a high trust society needs, which of course is what we are creating here in New Hampshire. I'm going to talk a little bit about a scandal with Jeremy Kaufman, who got arrested at Market Basket, and how he does not represent the qualities of a high trust society builder. But first, two warnings. One, a fasting warning. I am in a fast, and for people who follow the show regularly, you know that I am a big proponent of fasting as a way to reset your health, but it also means I get a little high energy, so I like to warn people about it before the time. And I wanted to let you guys know, did a great podcast show last Friday night called Are You Smarter Than a Politician? Well, turns out I am. Yay! No, seriously, I actually won. It was a great fun time. It's a sort of game show host format with, well, I guess there's a host and there's, three contestants, I suppose. So it was me as president emeritus of the Free State Project, the concentration strategy to bring libertarians and liberty lovers to the great state of New Hampshire, together with Jason Sorens, who is the founder of the movement, and Eric Brakey, the current executive director. So you can find that episode of the show, Are You Smarter Than a Politician?, which won based on viewer votes, on my website, carlagarrick.com, or you can follow them, throw them a follow, in fact, on X and wherever you see the content. Again, Are You Smarter Than a Politician? They are bringing questions and issues from a libertarian perspective to a broader audience. All right, what happened yesterday? I woke up and I was so shocked to see that Massie had lost. And then I kind of had a little moment where I thought, but what did you expect with these kinds of odds? So kudos to Thomas Massie, who I've personally met a few times. He, of course, would always walk around with these little national debt clock. Hopefully we can still keep some of those going up at Congress. And reminder, he's still going to be there for another 7 months. So I hope he takes the opportunity to really lean into some messaging and some shenanigans, which I think he's going to do. Why do I think that? Because when he made his concession speech last night, it started with this, and I quote, "I would have been here sooner, but I had to call my opponent to concede, and it took a while to find him in Tel Aviv." Now, I have got to say, here is what happened. So yesterday, May 19th, Thomas Massie, Republican in Kentucky, lost his Republican primary. He was defeated by Ed Galrine, a Trump-endorsed former Navy SEAL and farmer. The final margin was a 10-point spread. Now, how do you buy that 10-point spread? You spend a lot of money, guys. So obviously, this was one of the biggest upsets of the primary season, but it was also the most expensive US primary in the history of our politics. Now, how rich was this little fight? 32 to 35 million dollars were spent on ads and outside groups. The spending came from where? Primarily from pro-Israel groups like the AIPAC Super PAC, the Republican Jewish Coalition, from Miriam Edelson, and so on. So that little group, it looks like, spent about $9 to $16 million to unseat Massie. Now, why would they want to unseat Massie? Because he was our consistent and only anti-war voice up at the swamp headquarters. So, of course, we all know Trump made it personal, right? He called Massie the worst congressman in history. He campaigned against him and, of course, deployed all his surrogates. I saw Pete Hegseth went up there. I believe J.D. Vance, actually, like, that was a mistake, I think. I think this whole thing was really a mistake. But it's also interesting, and I think it's legitimate to feel frustrated and to kind of be like, oh my goodness, we absolutely cannot reform things. Money buys you seats, money buys you power. The anti-war lobby can get nowhere because, of course, they're spending all of this money. All of those things are legitimate concerns. But before you get too depressed about the whole thing, it is important, and I had to remind myself of this today, to remember those of us who have chosen to move to New Hampshire and those of our New Hampshire neighbors and Granite Staters who are aligned with the live free or die ethos. We are building something here that cannot be taken down like they did with a Massie because we are decentralized. There are many of us. We're trying many strategies. And really the only thing we all agree on is that you gotta move to New Hampshire to be part of the Free State Project and to be able to actually affect change from the bottom up, as opposed to, of course, as we see in DC, top down, right? So why should we be depressed? I mean, it is a major shift in the GOP. The good old libertarian-leaning anti-interventionist wing has been put on notice, right? So basically, if you're anti-war, you can now assume the Zionists are going to come after you. Of course, we know that Trump, who did what? Campaigned as the peace president, talked about how he wouldn't get us into all kinds of new foreign entanglements. Then someone tried to whack him and he changed his story. Then it turns out, ooh, fishy things in the Epstein files, right? So I think we can just assume that going forward, dissent will be punished. So the other thing we know from this is that money and presidential power works. If you're in a low turnout primary, which is what happened here, right? Like in order to win in these kinds of scenarios, you have to motivate the people to come out. And I can assure you this midterm, it's going to be hard to get the independents to come out for this midterm, which according to my show prep, actually means that the GOP and the NHGOP better buckle up because I think this is going to be a bumpy ride. So it shows how effective concentrated donor power is really, really good at enforcing the orthodoxy. We know they control the message, and now we've clearly seen they can throw enough money at any problem to get rid of any dissenting voice or anti-war voice. What is this going to create? It creates a chilling effect because Yeah, no, everyone else is kind of going, well, I guess I should shut up if I want to keep my seat, right? So it shows that there's a narrowing of acceptable opinion, and that if you don't fall in line, they will get rid of you. It's also a broader signal that the whole America First sort of platform that Trump was selling, no new wars, let's get end endless overseas entanglements, let's focus on America first. We all know now none of that really matters, right? Like the whole platform, really, the whole flavor of the Trump presidency has changed. So basically, the last meaningful anti-war voice in the Republican Party just got taken out by the warmongers. So that's where we're at, right? So what's another way we could frame this? How about this? The elites protect the elites. That is what we just saw. Why is that? Because war is a business. The defense contractors, and let's name some of them, because whenever we use terms like big war or big tech or big government, it glosses over the details. So Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing, all of those companies have booked billions with a B, billions of dollars of new orders just from this whole little Iran thing that's going on, right? Where again, we haven't actually declared war because America and Congress hasn't done that since forever, which is why, of course, people here in New Hampshire and in various other states have worked so hard on the Defend the Guard legislation, saying that, hey, you know what? You can't send our National Guard to undeclared wars. Hey, Congress, you have one job. You're supposed to declare war. How about you don't kick the can of murder down the street? How about someone gets held accountable for their actions? But no, that's not how the system works, guys, because the elite will protect the elite. Accountability is theater. We saw it with the Epstein files. We've seen it now with the Fauci situation. We've seen it with mis and disinformation that is spread by our own intelligence agencies. There is zero accountability on a federal level for anything. Even this David Murrens, who got indicted as Fauci's sort of lackey, he too is, not the guy really. So now they're going to use one 76-year-old man and be like, hey, we got him on the conspiracy, and it'll just carry on. So if you, like me, are ready for real solutions instead of this lip service, this manufactured consent, this manufactured perception is reality world, if you're ready for something different, you're ready for the Free State Project. So, of course, we have the Porcupine Freedom Festival coming up this June 21st, for a whole week across the entire state of New Hampshire. We will have little pockets and little cells and little areas of interest and things happening. Your job is, if you live in this state, go to porkfest.com and take a look at what's happening around you. Come say hi, come meet your neighbors, come explore with us. If you don't live in the state of New Hampshire and you've been curious, especially if you live in Massachusetts, where of course now there is a millionaire's tax, or in Maine, where unfortunately things have gone pear-shaped, although I like to think that Maine is sort of our northern border and we're going to have to, annex that coastline one day. So folks up in Maine get a bit more of a free pass from me, but come to PorkFest, come explore the different communities, come meet people like me. I will be very active at the Quill. The Quill is the oldest libertarian clubhouse in the world. Actually, it's been around for about 16 years, right there on in West Manchester, here in Manchester, New Hampshire. There are various other clubs, the Pines, the Shell. Everyone's doing a little something. It's going to be a really, really fun week, and it's going to be really interesting to see if this sort of spontaneous order model that we came up with for 2026 is going to work. PorcFest has been running for 23 years, I think, consecutively. So, there's going to be a good time. There's going to be good stuff going on, including at the Quill. We will have Soapbox Idol on the Thursday night. We will have Artsy Fartsy on the Friday night. We will have a poker tourney on Saturday night. But during the week, we're going to have stuff going on. We're going to be walking around the neighborhood. We're going to do meet and greets, maybe some business talks, definitely some real estate talk, because you know what? If you're mad about the Massie stuff and you don't own a piece of New Hampshire, you are behind, because property rights are libertarian. Everyone should own a piece of New Hampshire, and decentralized, ground up, what we're building here is the antidote to the swamp and people like Trump, who lost his spine and who is now just part of the problem. All right, so it's a brutal pattern that you have to admit is just kind of depressing, right? So let's dive a little bit more into this money spending just for a second, right? Because what the frustration is, oh, you can buy a seat. Now, we've always kind of known that, but to see it so blatantly obvious, right, that millions of dollars are pushed into this one small primary, and they unseated a very popular 14-year congressman, right? So how does the Israel government spend money here in the United States? So one of the interesting things I noticed is, because Trump has such strong support under the evangelicals, right? And I was like, what is that nexus? Like, what's going on there? Well, it turns out AIPAC spends a lot of money courting evangelicals on pastor trips and on ambassadorships and all expense paid trips to Israel. Thousands of US evangelical pastors are funded by the Israeli Foreign Ministry to train them as ambassadors. Now, you may not have noticed with this little non-war with Iran that America is basically doing the heavy lifting, spending the money, providing the munitions, and basically fighting the war as a proxy war for Israel. Again, undeclared war. And, it's unpopular, but we're going to have to look at these things correctly if we want to solve the problems. Now, again, can we solve the problems on a federal level? I don't think so. So what's the solution? Again, move to the free state of New Hampshire. So there is, just the whole ecosystem here with the pro-Israel interests in the American geopolitical sort of landscape is pretty shocking. So what you need to understand is most of this is heavily the seeming support for this war in Iran. Because let me tell you, the average American is not like, yay, my gas is $5 a gallon suddenly in New Hampshire. Now, if you live in California or one of the high tax states, that probably sounds cheap to you. Just another benefit of living in the free state. But we all know our groceries are going up. I saw a warning that, you're not going to be able to get oil for your car. There's now an oil shortage. I guess there's some food shortages coming. So we shouldn't be so entirely cavalier about this thing that is happening, where tens of thousands of people and innocents are also being murdered in the name of profit. And the support or the pretend support, the bought support, this vote with Massie is manufactured and amplified by the Israeli government, by very wealthy Jewish donors, and by other aligned groups. So we gotta look at the dynamic the real way. We got to call it for what it is. America and Trump have been co-opted, and they are not actually representing American interests. So I don't know what to tell you. If you woke up this morning and you were like, boo hoo hoo, oh no, I think you should look at it as a massive opportunity. I'm looking at it as a massive opportunity that makes me feel like everything I have invested here in the state of New Hampshire for the past 20 years is a solid strategy. And I invite you to come join us. Now, shifting gears a little with the last 10 minutes I've got here, let's talk a little bit about what creates a high trust society. So here's the reality, right? If we don't want big government, if you don't want someone telling you how to live your life, then you have to be capable of restraining yourself, being rational in meat space, and being able to show up as a holistic, normal human being. High trust societies require several things. So if we're not going to have big government controlling everything, if we are not going to have top-down control, authoritarianism, although some folks do like that flavor, except when it comes for you, then we have to agree what creates a high trust society, and then we have to vet our own people against those measures. So, what creates a high trust society? Let's start with predictable behavior. Predictable behavior. Hey, you're going to show up and you're going to be like, I don't know, a normal person. Okay. Or here is a normal pattern of behavior, and here is a abnormal pattern of behavior. So predictable behavior. Strong reciprocity. Reciprocity is actually the oil, the lube that makes the world go around. It's that thing of, hey, I'm going to treat you decently so that you treat me decently back. So when you start to notice certain people are attacking their own kind, you might wonder what is going on. Also, for a high trust society, you need low parasitism. What does that mean? That means if you build things, build them, don't come in, steal other people's efforts. That's sort of like you didn't build that energy, right? Where people come in late and then they try and subsume other people's efforts. Also, for a high trust society, you need honesty. Why? Because have you ever tried to argue with someone who plays dirty? You can't win, right? So at some stage, you just kind of give up. And finally, you need some personal responsibility. So in a nutshell, a high trust society is people who keep their word and who pull their weight. So now we had the scandal up at Market Basket. We saw the arrest come out and was in the media recently. And basically, we had, we have this like sort of fringe group here in New Hampshire who claim to speak for the Free State movement. Let me just say categorically, Jeremy Kaufman does not speak for the Free State movement at all. He is a loose cannon who isn't functioning like we want people to function in a high trust society, and he is putting off the builders and the real people we need to move here in order to build that high trust society. And don't take my word for it. This is verbatim from Grok. All right. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. Last month, Jeremy Kaufman had another public meltdown, this time in a Manchester parking lot. According to the police reports, after a fender bender, he started yelling racial slurs, including telling a Black man to go back to Africa. Actually, some of his cohorts have told me as a South African to go back to Africa. And he got into a fight with multiple people and had to be pulled away by his own young children. He's now facing charges for disorderly conduct and obstructing government administration. Now, look, I don't think the cops should have gotten involved. Sure, that's a fine libertarian argument to make. But you know what? If you're a dad and you're rolling around the streets in New Hampshire in such a way that you cannot actually rationally contain your own energy, then whether they're cops or not, at some stage, community is going to start policing itself. This was not an isolated incident. It's a pattern of behavior that we have seen now over several years. Now, I've given Jeremy a lot of rope. I actually made a mistake. I confess it here that I should have booted him like Chris Cantwell back when we kicked him off the Free State Project board. My compassion for his partner, Rachel, and for his children was misguided. And, for that, I do apologize to the movement. But here's the reality. This kind of behavior is unacceptable. This isn't someone pretending to be a racist. This is someone yelling racist stuff in a parking lot. If you're out in the world yelling racist slurs, starting fights, having your kids have to drag you away, I genuinely hope CPS does not get involved in this. You are actively damaging our movement. So let me say this clearly and without apology. I am categorically distancing myself from Jeremy Kaufman, and I think anyone who is still supporting him should actually take a long, deep look in the mirror and be like, this edgelord who in meat space cannot behave himself, this is who you're going to back. And then I hope you will reconsider. I also actually genuinely hope that Jeremy Kaufman goes and gets the help he needs. I think after his company was decimated by the SEC and maybe from some childhood issues, I think he needs to take a break. I think he needs to take a beat. I think he needs to go sort his crap out. So, in order to build something real that is sustainable for 20 years, like we did with the Free State Project so far, we actually have to apply standards. And I am saying this is not an acceptable standard of behavior for a high trust society, and everyone should become a little more skeptical and a little more arm's length. It is not good for our movement. It is not good for the Free State Project. It is not good for the future we are building here in New Hampshire. So I would like to say spectacle is not what we want. It is not attracting the right kind of people, and it is putting off the actual builders that should be attracted to the movement. And how do I know? Because I talk to those people and I'm done. So that is what I am saying here with my last minutes. I don't want the spectacle. I don't want the drama, and neither should you. I think everyone should take a long, hard look and get back to the heart of this movement. We have a massive opportunity with this Massie massacre to attract real builders to New Hampshire, and I invite you to make sure we're doing that rather than whatever this other nonsense is. All right, I'm out of time, so I will leave you with, I wish you peace, love, and understanding. Please come to PorkFest. You can find more at porkfest.com, and you can find all my content at carlagarrick.com. Thanks. All right. So that's how I feel. I'll see everyone next week. Bye.